Well, hello there. Today we are talking about print software, in particular Qimage 1, which is the software that I use in my shop. It is what's called a RIP, a software program specifically developed for printing, and it is a Mac-only version of Qimage. Qimage is a Windows-only software, and this is its Mac sister. Now, I absolutely love this software. It's a complete game changer for me. And there's not a lot of videos or tutorials for it online, and it doesn't have much of a manual. So I thought I would make some videos showing how I use it, different features and whatnot. This first video is just going to be kind of a basic run through of why I use this software, and also just kind of the basic layout. So starting with why I use it, in my shop I've always printed with Adobe Photoshop. Now, as Photoshop has gone into the subscription thing and they have an update every other month or every other week, I guess, I don't know. There's a lot of updates. I have a lot of issues. I've had a lot of bugs. I've had a lot of problems, and I am just tired of it. Adobe software is absolutely fantastic for certain things, but it is awful for others. On top of this, Photoshop is really inefficient when you're printing multiple images. If you're just working on one image and you need to run a print, it's fairly decent. But in my shop, I'm running prints all day long, so I need something that is a little bit more efficient. Now, Lightroom is decent for this as long as you're using your own images, but I don't like putting all my customers' images into my Lightroom library, so it doesn't really work for me there either. So I started looking for a different software program to do my printing. Now, Canon comes with one, Print Studio Pro or something. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. So I used it in a pinch, and I've had some issues with Photoshop printing really large files, like over a gig, and the print will just stop towards the end. And talking to Canon support to get around that, I used Canon's software, and whenever I have a massive file, and I have not had the problem since. But I hate Canon's software. Make great printers, suck at making software. So I started looking around online for some software programs to use, and the two big ones I found were Qimage and ImagePrint. And Qimage, as I said, is only for Windows. So there is Qimage 1, but there's not nearly as much info out there about it. I downloaded a trial for Qimage 1 and spent less than 5 minutes on it, and kind of stumbled a couple times, thought, oh, there's a learning curve, I'm not interested. So I moved past it. And I did some more reading about ImagePrint, and I watched this really long video on ImagePrint and was like, if I have this software, it is gonna completely change my workflow. It is gonna save me hours and hours of time. And then I saw that it's like $2,500 per printer. Now, I'm a small one-man shop. If I was a big business with a bunch of employees and stuff, maybe I could justify that. I can't. They do have a cheaper version that's like $700 or $800 per printer, and from what I can tell, it would do me fine, but that's still a lot of money. Now, from what I've found, the main difference between the cheap version of ImagePrint and the expensive, and one of the reasons so many people like ImagePrint, is the expensive version has a massive library of profiles attached to it. Now, I don't use that many different medias, and generally my medias come with an ICC profile. If they don't, I can always have one made for like $50, maybe $100. I could buy a profiler for much less than buying the software. So not needing these profiles as much, ImagePrint just didn't seem right for me. It's just really expensive. So I went back to Photoshop, beat my head against the wall for a little bit longer, and decided to check out Qimage 1 again. So I went back, my trial had expired. It's only like $100 for a lifetime license. I watched a couple more videos of it. They do have a YouTube page that has a few videos. They're not very good. The audio is really, really low. They help with a couple things, but they don't in any way, shape, or form answer all the questions that I had about this software. So I decided to just buy it because the videos did make it seem like I could get what I need from the software. So I bought it and I tried using it and spent a little more time and was like, okay, this is pretty cool. But I did instantly run into some problems, and I could not find any information online about how to get around them. So I emailed the company, Binartem, and got a response fairly quickly. No automated message, got a human response from a guy named Andrew. I'm kind of guessing he's the owner of the company. answer my questions super quickly, very accurately, fix the problem, and I have messaged him many more. And every time he gets back to me pretty quick. He explains everything in detail, super helpful. So I'm a big customer service guy. There's very few companies that I use that have customer service that I actually appreciate. But being able to get in touch with a human is really important to me, and just get the answers answered quickly. And that's what they do. So what I decided to do, since I have become such a huge fan of this software, is make these videos and put more information about this software out there so other people can hopefully utilize it and have their lives made so much easier as I have by Qimage One. So that's what I'm going to do. I will make a series of videos. If you use this software and you have any questions, please leave them in comments on the videos, and I will make more videos with explanations. This program has absolutely changed my life and my shop. It saves me so much time, and it is just awesome. So let's dive in. This video, we're just going to talk about the basic features, the layout, and then I will do other short videos with other specific subjects. So here we go. All right, here we are in Qimage One. This is the basic layout. Over here on the left, you have a series of images. This is based on whatever folder you have selected. I do want to add that this software has plugins for Lightroom and Photoshop, so you can very easily jump into Qimage One if you're working in those programs. Okay, so here is your folders. Up at the top, there is a drag down, and there is a little plus and minus symbol right here. So if there's a folder you use a lot, you can push this and say make current folder sticky, or you can clear them, whatever. And when you have a folder is sticky, whenever you click this drop down, it will be up here at the top. So if you're manually picking a folder, you just push right here, you go down, here's my hard drive, so you go down through the different steps in your hard drive till you get to the folder that you want. You click on it and the images will appear below. Okay, now one thing that I messaged the company about is it would be really cool if there was a way to just view these by title. I have a couple folders that are full of very, very large files, and it can slow things down a little bit. It's not a huge deal, but it would be awesome if you could just push something that says, you know, thumbnail view or list view, and just get a list of the images within the folder. Okay, so here are some basic pictures. These are by a gentleman named Robert Bergen, just to give him credit. But that's basically all you need to do over on this side. There's also a little box where you can check it. You can check all the images you want. So if I click all three of these and then I click an image size, it'll create 3 prints on my piece of paper. The alternative way to do this is you have an image size selected and you click the little plus sign down here in the corner, and it will create an image that size on your piece of paper. All right, so let's move over to here, which is our piece of paper. And on the right here, we have printer settings and prints. Now, printer settings is where our printer settings are. So first thing, you're going to select your printer. I mainly use a Pro 4000 and a Pro 6100. You can also print to file if you want to make something that you will print later. So Pro 4000 media type, you can select from your long list of different kinds of media. I'm selecting Red River Polar Matte right now because I use that one a lot. Next is your media size. Now, this has all your kind of standard list of sizes. I print from rolls, so I very rarely use any of these. So I pretty much always scroll down to the bottom. Oops, bottom is custom. I pretty much always leave it set on custom. I enter the size, the width of the paper here, the length here, or auto roll length is actually very handy. And this is the borderless button in case I'm going to print borderless. Page orientation, portrait, I never touch that. Paper source, roll paper auto, I never touch that. Occasionally I have on my 6100 that has 2 rolls. So if I just want to be sure that it's going to pull from the right one, I can set that there. Print resolution, max 600. I leave that there pretty much all the time. I try to send everything here in at least 300 pixels per inch. If it's smaller than that, I generally upscale it in Photoshop. I do know that this software does some upscaling, but I have not spent time doing extensive testing, and I am a big fan of Topaz Gigapixel, so I'm happy to just use Gigapixel for my upscaling and then shift into here. If I'm printing smaller prints, I don't mess with it. But larger ones, I will check in Photoshop just to make sure that I have the pixels that I need to get a good print. Under this, you have ICC profile. Now you can turn color management off here. So for creating profiles, it's nice to be able to just flick it off. Let printer driver manage colors. This is kind of a useful tool if you're troubleshooting why your colors can be off. This is the profile that I'm using, Red River Polar Matte, and this is where you choose the profile. Now, this brings up one of my other complaints about the software. I go back and forth between perceptual and relative colorimetric rendering intents quite often, and I wish I could click that without having to go in here. It would be awesome if there was just a button in this list and I could select perceptual or relative colorimetric. But I can't, so I try to just open this every time and go in and change it. So here are all my profiles. This software is incredibly good at if you pick a media type here, and once you pick a profile in here, every time you select this media type, it will automatically select your profile, which is awesome. But again, even on the same paper, basically if I'm printing photos, I use perceptual. If I'm printing art, I do relative colorimetric. So I do often need to go in here, click this just to change it between these two settings. And I always leave black point compensation on unless a customer asks me to turn it off, which they very rarely do. All right, underneath here, sharpening. Number 5 is default. You can see it's pretty low on the list. It goes 0 to 20. I don't use much print sharpening. If I'm doing photos, I will leave this set to default. If I'm working with a professional photographer, professional artist, where I'm confident that they have their image set exactly as they want, I do not personally like to add additional sharpening. So I can turn that off. But generally, if I'm printing just kind of average whatever stuff, I'll leave it set to 5. Guidelines are great because when you're nesting images or printing one page with a bunch of different images, sometimes if those images have a white background, it can be hard to find the edge. So it's nice to leave either crop marks, guidelines, guide borders are pretty cool because they will wrap the entire image. Just so when I'm cutting the images out, I have that option. I never use corner marks or fold marks. Yeah, I don't. Print information, I always leave that off. Leave this on left. Canvas shrink adjustment is very nice. I use this when I print big canvases. I know from experimentation and running prints that 0.4 works really good for me. But you need to make sure that you clear that out if you are printing paper prints or if you do not want the shrink adjustment. If you aren't aware, you're printing on fabric, and after you print like 90 inches of it, sometimes it'll end up shrinking, so your print will come out a ½ inch short, which most people don't care about, and I prefer to just size my canvases to the print after it's done rather than pre-make big frames. So it doesn't really matter if I use it or not. Anyways, this video isn't about that. Ideal gap between prints. So this is what you set your space for in between your prints. Let's say I'm gonna have a couple of these guys. 0.5 inches means it is going to leave a ½ inch between the prints. Now I like that because when I'm cutting this edge on my cutter, the handle can rub on the paper. So this gives plenty of distance to make sure that my handle does not damage this print when I'm cutting this edge. If you don't want this used and you want to print edge to edge, you can turn this off, and then when you add prints, then you can put stuff right next to each other, you see. Anyways, okay, unclog schedule. I don't ever use that because I print every day, so I don't need to run those. But if I have printers that I'm not using regularly, you can set up a schedule to run a print to unclog. Now, these tabs, here is the little printer when you're ready to print. The properties, which basically just takes you into your print driver. The first time you use a media, this green check mark is red, and it's just going to tell you to check it to go in and go over everything. These are print settings that you've saved, and I do use this when I'm dealing with borderless prints, because you can get rid of this little gray margin if you want to be able to take your print all the way to the edge, and then if you use the same media and you want that gray margin to be back, it can be tricky to get it to come back. So I have some different margins, 1/4 inch margins saved in here. And it can also be nice because if you don't want to have to go through this list to find medias and you only use 2 or 3 medias, you can just use this little disc icon, click that, and you can save a different setting for each media you use, and it's a pretty simple way to access it. I'm probably going to do this, I'm just not set up that far yet. So that's your whole printer settings list. You also have your prints list, how many prints, how many copies you're going to apply. These are all the sizes. You can add sizes, delete sizes, adjust sizes. This is how you view the sizes and what order. Borders. The only time I use this is when I'm creating a canvas mirrored edge or a canvas solid edge. Now, this is another thing that, if you're listening by Nartem, would be a helpful addition. I don't use this because I like to create a logo of my shop on the white border that is on the back side of the canvas. So I have a action in Photoshop, a script that lets me apply those. This would be really cool if there was a way to click a button and just add a logo on the border of your canvas. So please, guys, do that. And if you want a border for a canvas, you're going to want auto roll setting, or you're going to need to calculate your border and your dimension right there. But, you know, click that canvas mirror. Let's say you want a 2-inch mirror. And then when you add this image, let's say 12 by 12, it will put that border, reversed border on there. Now, when I do canvases and I do borders, I like to have a 1-inch blank white past this border. And if I have it set on the auto roll length, one of the issues that I've had is getting this print position. So if I add 2 inches, it doesn't just add 2 inches and shift it over. I don't know. This is kind of annoying. It doesn't do, you can't do it after the print is there. If I remove this and I say set print position 2 inches, 2 inches, and then I add this, here is a crop tool. You can crop in here. These are just rotates. If you select that and then click this, you can rotate it. And now we have our buttons on the paper page. I don't generally ever touch these. This goes back and forth between pages if you have multiple pages going. The direction, this right here is pretty interesting. This is IntelliSpace, which is really cool if you have a whole bunch of images and you want them to fit on the paper the best way, using the least amount, or wasting the least amount of paper. You can add all of your images here. Let me go remove these, turn the borders off. Let's say I have an 8 by 10. Enforce the gap. Let's see, add another 8 by 10. Okay, now I'm going to go auto roll length. It'll put these on a piece of paper. Now, if you have some other sizes, selecting IntelliSpace is going to move all the images around and make them fit the best possible way to save paper. IntelliCenter is going to center them so they're not shifted to one side. IntelliCut, I don't really know much about this. Freehand, which allows you to just move them where you want, or this is where you can have a one that you create. So I have one created for doing 2 8x10s, but I'm not going to access that right now. This adjusts how they are oriented on the piece of paper, biggest to smallest. This is soft proofing. I do not soft proof in this software, so at some point I'll figure that out and do a video about it, but for now I'm just telling you that's the button for soft proofing. This is the print button. Now in here is just a quick description. Your margins: left margin, top margin, right margin, and your bottom margin. So that is it for the main layout of the software. One other quick thing I'll show you is under File. If you are using 2 printers and you want to use your second one tip I got from Andrew is you can save your print job, send it to the printer, save it, load up a second printer. So I could save my print job. Let's say this is John's. Save it. Now I can go over to my Pro 6100. I can do something different, load some different images, and then after I send this one to the printer, if I want to go back to that other one and continue working, I can just go up, load print job. Here's that one, John, load it, and I'm back on the Pro 4000, etc. So that's a pretty sweet tip. So there you go. There is Qimage 1. So there is the basics of Qimage 1, and I'll start doing some specific videos of different features and different tricks and things that I've figured out that have been helpful. All right, well, I hope that was helpful. Please reach out with any questions that you have about the software, and if I do not know the answer, I will find it out for you. Thank you very much for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel by Qimage 1, and I will see you next time.